Good morning. Welcome to High Evolution episode number 110. It's Wednesday. Happy Hump Day, the 18th of November. Holy cow, we are 1 week away from Thanksgiving. 8 days away. And speaking of that, the blowout cards Black Friday waves continue. Wave number 3 was released last Friday. They're releasing just one wave a week this year. Every Friday. Blowoutcards.com. I did place an order in the most recent wave. Now, I did not buy anything out of the Black Friday sales last year and did not expect to find any deals that really captured my eye this year, just based on how the hobby has been. But I did place a couple orders over the weekend. I bought, they had the green Walmart sets that you have a chance at finding numbered parallels, complete set numbered parallels. I think one in every 3 boxes. So I purchased 3 boxes. They were at, I believe, what retail was $70 per box. So I picked up 3 of those. They should be delivered today. And also they had the Heritage High Number 2019 Heritage High Number mega boxes. And I believe they retailed for $40. They did have them for $40 in the wave sales. I bought 8 of those boxes, and I think those are arriving today as well. So those Heritage High Number boxes, I'm going to keep sealed. The Topps Complete sets, I will probably open just to see if I pull any of the parallels. So I'll do a video of that maybe this weekend. So those were some purchases I made over the weekend. Made some eBay purchases. Looks like there's another delay in mail, possibly holiday related. I checked some tracking yesterday. I was actually just checking to see what else I had ordered on eBay over the past week. So I did check the tracking, and some of them have been held up for several days. So a couple of Cubs that I purchased over the weekend hopefully will come here in the next couple days as well. No Cubs in the mail yesterday. No cards in the mail. But as I said, I am expecting those blowout shipments to arrive today. Zach's with us. Good morning. Morning, Bobots. Yeah. So today I wanted to talk about the Baseball Hall of Fame ballot. It was released Monday of this week, and it's always Baseball Hall of Fame ballot season is one of the things that I look forward to the most in sports every year. I love following Not Mr. Tibbs on Twitter. If you haven't followed him, and you enjoy the Baseball Hall of Fame ballots and votes, he is the number 1 follow for the Baseball Hall of Fame, Not Mr. Tibbs. And it's Tibbs, even though his last name is Thibodeau with a TH. Jenny's with us. Good morning, Jenny, talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame, Not Mr. Tibbs, number 1 follow for this. Ballot was released on Monday. I wrote a blog last night. It was published with my votes. I voted for 9, and I expected my ballot to get destroyed. I even welcomed criticism on my ballot, and for the most part, everybody was in agreement of my ballot. I was kind of disappointed there wasn't anybody attacking my ballot. I did have a couple people ask why, or just say I would agree, but I would add Andrew Jones, and that's totally I can totally see that. And probably a little oversight on my part. Because I only had 9 on my ballot, I could see putting Andrew Jones as my 10th. I've seen some other ballots out there with Jeff Kent, with Bobby Abreu. Those 2 guys, just not Hall of Famers to me. Andy Pettit, not a Hall of Famer. Yeah, Jenny says, Mr. Ballot. Yep, it's 1millioncubs.com posted the ballot and kind of why I picked the 9 that I did pick. So the ballot this year in alphabetical order: Bobby Abreu, Barry Bonds, Mark Burley, who's a first-timer, AJ Burnett, Roger Clemens, Michael Kadire, Dan Herron, LaTroy Hawkins, Todd Helton, Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter, Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent, Andy Pettit, Aramis Ramirez, Manny Ramirez, Scott Rowland, Kurt Schilling, Gary Sheffield, Sammy Sosa, Nick Swisher, Shane Victorino, Omar Vizquel, Billy Wagner, Barry Zito. That is the 2021 Hall of Fame ballot. Zach says Bonds and Clemens need to get in Hall of Fame before Royds. It would also help my collection. Yeah, it would help a lot of collections out there. And I think Bonds and Clemens, and I lay it out in my blog, Bonds and Clemens should be in. I have been on the Bonds and Clemens Hall of Fame bandwagon for a while. I think the steroid era, players who have been clouded in mystery elected is in. He let it go. Baseball turned a blind eye. 1998 was fueled by steroids. The home run chase was fueled by performance enhancing drugs. That brought many fans, myself included. I left in 90, actually a little before the strike. I was still following baseball up until 94, but the strike killed it for me. And I did not come back to baseball until 1998, largely because of the Sosa McGwire home run chase. And baseball let it slide. And then all of a sudden, 10 years later, bad on you. You steroid guys are bad guys. Come on. I don't like the way that was all played out. A lot of guys were, and what really stinks is some of the guys who were probably clean are and were power hitters, are just kind of guilty by association because they played in that era, the steroid era. Let them all in. Pitchers were likely doing it. Hitters were likely doing it. I say it's time. The thing is about especially Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds was a Hall of Famer before he allegedly started taking any enhancements. When you started to notice his body really changing in the 90s, in the early to mid 90s, Barry Bonds was a freaking Hall of Fame baseball player, regardless of what he was putting in his body. Barry Bonds, Hall of Famer, should be in. This is the 9th ballot for both Bonds and Clemens, and I think Sosa as well. I think Sammy Sosa is a Hall of Famer. I don't think Sosa will get in. I do think Bonds and Clemens will get in. It may not be this year. It may be the baseball writers. It may be punishment to make them wait the full 10 years, but I think they get in probably on their final ballot in 2022 next year. Kurt Schilling, very close, 73.7% a year ago. You need 75 to get in. I think Schilling there's a few new voters this year. New voters tend to vote for these guys like a Bonds and a Clemens and a Schilling. So I think Schilling just gets over 75%. Bonds and Clemens have made a steady climb. It's been pretty slow the last few years, but they have been increasing in votes the past few years. I don't think they'll have enough new votes this year, but I think we'll see them hit close to 70%, if not reach 70% of votes, but fall short of 75 this year, their 9th year. But I think they'll get the requisite 75% next year because I think some voters are holding back, making them wait the full 10 year before allowing them in. Which is also something that I dislike about the Hall of Fame voting is how come Larry Walker's a Hall of Famer in year 10, but he wasn't a Hall of Famer in year 1, 2, or 3. And I get first ballot Hall of Famer. I get the notoriety behind a first ballot Hall of Famer. Okay. How about second ballot? If you're going to put him on ballot 10, why not put him on ballot 2, 3, 4, 5? That's something that's always annoyed me. that is involved with the Hall of Fame voting. So I've been on a soapbox, so I'm checking the chat now. Zach and Jenny are with us. Awesome. I love it when we have chats going on. Jenny says there's always that one guy that gets in that I've never heard of, like Harold Baines. And Harold Baines, Jenny, in the blog, I brought him up specifically because a lot of these guys on my ballot, before Harold Baines, I probably would have said no, not a Hall of Famer. But now that Harold Baines is in, it's almost like it's a less exclusive club, and you start to look at, well, if Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, Scott Rowland surely should be in the Hall of Fame. Omar Vizquel should be in the Hall of Fame. And I look last year's ballot, there was probably 16 players on last year's ballot, and I think a few have fallen off. Well, I know a few have fallen off. Well, and a few got elected last year. But there was like 16 guys on last year's ballot that I thought should have been in. Right now, this year's ballot, I can see an argument for about 12, for a good 12. I put 9 on mine. I can see the case for Andrew Jones. I can see the case for Jeff Kent. And then it takes some swaying, I guess, for Abreu or one of the other 1 or 2 guys that I've seen on ballots. You'd have to really convince me on some of those, especially Abreu. I'd have to really dive into those arguments. Jenny says, with the way people talk about steroids, what will 20 years be when people talk about the COVID season being short? Will they not want to count 2020 stats? That's a great thought. And who knows what next year brings? I mean, look at what's going on with COVID right now. We fortunately had positive vaccine news with Moderna this week, Pfizer last week. Moderna's 94.5% apparently effective. So that's great news. But when will these vaccines be ready for, obviously they're going to go to first responders, doctors and nurses first. And then you're probably going to see a trickle down with people, in need with compromised immune systems, which obviously is the way it should be. And then, the rich, the rich people like professional athletes and sports organizations will probably get them so they can continue their seasons. But yes, that will be interesting to see how 2020 compares down the line. And will 2021 be affected? Will there be a shortened season? Hopefully with this drug news, we've got enough time. It's November. We've got enough time to get it developed and distributed. And by the time March rolls in, Major League Baseball, has the availability to get everyone involved in the game, this vaccine. So that will be interesting to see how it all plays out. Zach says, speaking of people who should have been added to the Hall, I hope to send Jenny some Kent Herbecks today, hitting the chiropractor if there isn't a long line at the post office. Kent Herbeck. Buddy of mine said that if Selig is in and he oversaw all of that look the other way during Royd era, then they should be in. Absolutely. Number one. I've been a proponent of some of the steroids guys being in the Hall of Fame, namely Bonds and Clemens. And that was before Selig got in. Now with Bud Selig in, the floodgates are open. It's kind of like the dirty version of Harold Baines, the Harold Baines argument. You've got clean Harold Baines. If Harold Baines is in the Hall of Fame, Scott Rowland should be in the Hall of Fame. Omar Vizquel should be in the Hall of Fame. On the other side, the dirty side, if Bud Selig is in, he's the one that oversaw and turned a blind eye and let people come back to the game of baseball because it was being fueled by performance-enhancing drugs, namely the 98 home run chase. Absolutely. Jenny and Kent Herbeck share the same birthday. Mattingly should be in the Hall of Fame. That's actually funny you mentioned that, because I think Mattingly he had a very short career, and his numbers were really consolidated into a small period of time. And that was right around the time we were growing up. And I've often thought of that, because growing up in 1990, can you imagine if we as 8, 10-year-old kids. We're pulling a pack of 1990 tops out, and somebody comes along and says, Don Mattingly will not be in the Hall of Fame. Bobby Bonilla will not be in the Hall of Fame. Who else? Eric Davis will not be in the Hall of Fame. I would have laughed. I would have went to school and told all my buddies, this crazy old guy told me that Eric Davis, Bobby Bonilla, and Don Mattingly will never be in the Hall of Fame because they won't have Hall of Fame credentials. That in 1990 would have been absurd. That would have been crazy. You never would have thought that in 1990, that Eric Davis, Don Mattingly, and Bobby Bonilla wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame. That's funny to think about because they had such a small window, and it just happened to be when we were growing up at that age, that golden age for us, collecting baseball cards and watching baseball and really getting into the game as 8, 9, 10-year-olds in the late 80s and early 90s, that we would have thought you were crazy if we were told Mattingly, Davis, and Bonilla would not be in the Hall of Fame. Zach says, I have customers at nursing homes already preparing to receive the vaccine. Nice. That is excellent news. I haven't really followed what the distribution is like right now, but that is awesome news. Hopefully it is moving swiftly, and we can get all of the necessary first responders, doctors, nurses, nursing homes, all getting the vaccine here soon. Jenny says, hoping things go quickly. You guys both are in kind of the same area. Yeah, we're all in the upper Midwest, Saxon. I think the northern suburbs of Chicago. I'm right in the middle between you guys in Wisconsin. Jenny's in Minnesota. Yeah, and Illinois hit hard. Wisconsin's getting hit hard. I follow those two states closely because I'm from Illinois and I'm only 2 hours away. All my family's there. Wisconsin, we are getting decimated by it. Illinois is surging. And I think both Illinois and Wisconsin governors put out, stay at home, similar to the stay at home orders within the past couple days, and what the winter is going to bring. It's going to be a long winter. And hopefully these vaccines can get cleared and distributed, and we'll be good to go for a much better 2021. That is it for today. Jenny, Zach, thanks so much for joining the chat. If you get a chance, check out the blog, 1millioncubs.com. It's the latest post, 2021 Hall of Fame ballot, and why I voted for the nine players that I did in my ballot. eBay store link is also there. Top of the page, eBay store, 1millioncubs.com, 10% off when you buy 3 or more, and Twitter at 1millioncubs. Thanks so much. Have a great Wednesday. See you tomorrow.